Lynda. How's everybody? How you doing
Hey,
today?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're thrilled to have you. And we're going to be talking about haunted dolls and other spooky objects. I think this is going to be lots of fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is one of my favorite topics, honestly.
Is it? Oh,
It
good. Oh,
is.
good.
It is.
Okay, awesome. So, how was your week?
Well, it was a really busy week, which I think in some cases is good because you don't really have to think about, all of your woes when you're busy because you're just busy. So it was a busy week. It was actually really busy. We got a lot of hits on the website this week from people with lots of issues. And actually, one of them was a haunted object. So there you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
right.
Fun, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
How about you? How was your week?
Oh, it was really good. I have to. I'm going to tell you a story which is going to gross you out because I know how much you love snakes.
Oh, God.
So I have to feed my snake, and for those that don't know, I have a fairly large boa constrictor,
Yes.
and he's a sweetheart. I just adore him. But when he's hungry, he's really hungry, and you don't want to mess with him. And so and twice already this week. I've tried to feed him, and it's been my fault. I left the rats for too long. Like I feed him frozen rats, and you have to defaw them out. And I had so much going on, I totally forgot about them. And and then we went to go feed him today, and my son's like, "Mom," because it was soaking in water all day, and my son was like, "I don't think you want to feed that rat to him because as soon as he because I don't know if you know anything about constrictors, but they bite and then they wrap, right? So that's how like pythons, boa constrictors, anacondas, like that's how they eat, right? They
Okay.
bite and then they wrap. And they think that they're killing something. You
Okay.
know,
All right.
he's not obviously because it's frozen and he's not killing anything, but in his head he is. And except I had left this one in the water for too long and it was super bloated.
Oh, God.
And so we my son's like, what's gonna happen. And I'm like, oh no. And we already put it into the cage. So I was like, oh my God, how do I get this thing out? So we spent a good hour trying to figure out how to get the rat out of the cage without him like going after it and going
Oh,
after
my
us. And
God.
so that was lots of fun because otherwise that would have been a disaster that we don't even want to discuss. Like it would have been horrific for
Oh,
everybody involved.
ew. Ew. That's gross.
So that was my day.
Great. Oh, yeah. That sounds like so much fun, Kathy.
but but the rest of the week was really good. Was really good. I hear that you have some exciting investigations coming up, though, right?
We have a few. I mean, I know that in September I'm going to be going overseas, which
Yeah.
is fun. But yeah, going to Will Know for a vampire cemetery walkabout and investigation, and also to Buck Hill Road, Ontario, and that is going to be fun. That's quite a well-known haunted road, and there's a really great legend of Buck Hill Road as well. So I'm looking forward to that. There's some things that happen sometimes on Buck Hill Road. So I've heard that, people's windshields might get cracked or like really
You're
crappy
taking
things.
someone else's car, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think it's going to be a really interesting weekend. And I'm not going to say when because if people are watching, they may want to
Yeah, you
tag
don't want to.
along. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you don't want to jeopardize the
no,
investigation or anything like
no.
that. No, for sure. I'm excited to hear your tales after the vampire graveyard because that fascinates me. And I think we chatted a little bit about it. And I mean, of
Yes.
all the legends, I think I'm probably most interested in the vampire. But there's so many variations, right? Like werewolf is pretty, stable, if that
Yep.
makes sense. Like it's a pretty stable like legend. It doesn't change all of that much.
No.
And you get bit, you change, bada bing, bada boom. You come out usually during the full moon, that's the end of that, right? For the most part, unless you're in some tales, there's like super werewolves that come out, in whatever other time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a pretty saying Frankenstein, pretty stable. You know what I mean? So you got all of these old legends and or old fables, I guess is the best way to say it, not legends, fables. But vampires are probably my most. That's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
love. I even like the movie Dracula, which nobody
Oh yeah.
not the Bram Stoker one, but the one with like, but it was.
Your microphone's cutting out, Kathy.
Oh, sorry. Is that any better?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Is
good.
that
It
better?
just it kind of went somewhere.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Went
That's
somewhere.
better though?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
Dracula is really good. You mean the one with Winona Ryder?
No,
No.
no. I'm gonna Google it. It
There's so
was.
many of them. It's like
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, right? Oh,
yeah.
Dracula Untold. That's what it was.
Oh, all right.
Um, Dracula Untold with Luke Evans.
Oh,
It was
very
really
cool.
good. I liked it. I liked it. A lot of people didn't, but whatever. You know, it is
Yeah,
what it
so
is.
many different
I
versions.
enjoyed it. So
Good.
vampires are kind of my, I get a kick out of them.
They're
I
your
enjoy them
thing.
the most.
They're your thing. Well, as soon as we come back, I will let you know how it went. Because
Yeah,
yeah, I've never
that's
heard of this
exciting.
place. I never heard that there was any kind of vampire legend, and will know. But well, I'm about to find out. So
I
it's
guess
going to
you
be
will.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be good. It'll be
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah.
Speaking of fables and all of that fun stuff, let's talk about our dolls that we've got going on here.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's interesting. I shouldn't probably say it that way because some of the legends with the haunted dolls, some of um the stuff behind the dolls, I can't think of the right word,
Yes.
is that you don't disrespect them. They do not
Yeah.
appreciate being disrespected. So I do not want to disrespect any of the dolls that we are going to be talking about today.
No, absolutely not. Oh
Just the
no.
highest respect.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because a lot of people have pushed that envelope
Oh
with
yes.
with sometimes not good consequences behind it. So I'm just,
No.
you know, so for me, I'm gonna, fully give the respect that right.
Right?
But
Isn't it
but
weird?
let what's that?
Isn't it weird how some people love to push the envelope? I don't know why people do, but I mean, if somebody says, don't do this because other people have had terrible consequences, would
Yeah.
you push that envelope? Because I know I would not.
You know, the thing is, I suppose if you're going to do it, then you take the responsibility of the fact that you did it. You can't turn around and blame something else. It's kind of like, if you're warned not to touch the hot stove and you go and touch the hot stove, don't go blaming somebody else because you touched the
Right.
hot stove.
Right.
So, it's kind of like that. It's sort of like when, with investigation, like you don't go into a house and scream, all of these things and threaten, the spirit or ask it to, do something to you without taking the responsibility of those threats, right? So that's something to, be aware of. If you want to do it, go right ahead. It's your life, live it. But take responsibility for it. Right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So what is the legend behind some of these haunted dolls?
Oh, there's so many weird, weird legends. I mean, I have to say, for those people out there who are really interested in haunted dolls and haunted stuff, there's a really great book actually called Haunted Stuff. I don't know if you can see it. Haunted Stuff. So it's actually great. It's by Stacy Graham. I'll lift it up over there. Stacy Graham. There we go. And it's demonic dolls, screaming skulls, and other creepy collectibles. And they actually give you all of the legends behind all of these creepy dolls,
Oh,
haunted
that's
dolls.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really great. So, I mean, well, I don't know. Who did you want to talk about first? Which doll did you want to talk about first?
Well, let's talk about probably the most famous haunted doll that is known. which would be Miss Annabelle. So
That's the one.
I actually took a picture here with both of them. So we've got the real face, meaning the movie face, and then the real face, right?
Right.
And and it, you know, it's funny because obviously the movie face is much creepier than the true doll Annabelle.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I mean, basically the legend goes that, you know, she was possessed by a child, and that, or they were told that she was haunted by a child, that she was possessed by a child.
Right.
And so these nurses took her in, and it was these nursing students originally that took her in and cared for her or whatever, you know, invited her into their home. And things started going horribly bad. And this is where Ed and Lorraine Warren entered the picture. Interesting enough, I am very good friends with so his name's Chris McNichol. He's actually the founder of the Warren Institute. It's the Paranormal Institute. Yeah, so they do investigations, but they also teach a lot of paranormal things. You know, it's a fascinating group to take a look at on Facebook. But you know, Chris, he was actually, I remember talking to him one day, and he was actually in Lorraine's, he used to live in Lorraine's house just after she passed away. Well, he was living with her just before she had passed away also, but then just after she had passed away, I remember we were talking, and you know, somehow Annabelle came up at some point, and he's like, yeah, she's like 20 feet away from me, like literally in the room, you know, away from him, right? Like in a locked room. She stays in her locked room.
Wow.
You don't go messing with her, and that's been very strict, but it's also been very respected, very respected. And I would have to say, of all the dolls, she is probably the most popular of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And you know, I remember hearing something about somebody had taken her out, and they had taken her on an investigation. It was really disrespectful. I
Oh
don't know
my
the
God.
entire thing about it, but yeah, it was interesting. So apparently they're no longer allowed to do that. So
Well, no. Why would you do that? You know what bothered me when the movie came out, the Annabelle movie came out,
Mm, right,
and I saw the doll that they used for this
Yeah.
movie. I thought to myself, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry, but if I saw a doll that looked like that
Why
doll,
would you bring that home anyway?
right? Like, no, I'm not going to bring a doll like that home. That's why the original Annabelle, the little Raggedy Ann type
Yeah,
doll, it's just so much creepier because it's such a cute Raggedy Ann doll. I mean, nobody would ever
she
suspect,
is. She absolutely is, right?
right?
You would never suspect that, you know, this was anything, you know, creepy or malevolent or
No,
anything else. So,
no.
you know, we'll just go back and take a look at her again here. So, I mean, yeah, she does look absolutely innocent, right?
Yes.
But I mean, you know, would I take the other one home? There's not a chance. I'm
No,
not going to give that to my kid. Not
right.
unless I never wanted to sleep in my own bed by myself again, or, you know, with my
Yeah.
husband or whatever. Like, you're going to have a kid in your room for the next 20
But
years. Right?
you know what's interesting though, Kathy,
They're
is that
never moving out, that child.
no. Oh God, no. But what's really interesting is that, you know, haunted dolls are incredibly popular and so many people out there collect haunted dolls. I mean, if you go
Mhm.
on eBay or any of those, you know, those online auction places, there are people that want them so very badly. And that always kind of freaked me out because I keep thinking to myself, you know, I don't know. Like I don't think I would want to collect haunted dolls because these people, I mean, we hear from them. Our team hears from them.
Yeah, we get that phone call.
Right. And people say, well, I bought this haunted doll and, you know, now I'm hearing footsteps. And, well, what the heck did you think? Well, if you buy a haunted doll, what do you
Did you
think is
think
going
you
to
were going to
happen?
bring it home and it was going to do your laundry?
Right.
You know,
No.
like what was your thought process in the purchase of this particular object?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not going to serve you any purpose except for the fact of saying, "Oh, hey, I have this." And, maybe having your 5 minutes of fame for whatever reason,
Yeah.
but now you're stuck with this object that is causing some issues.
Yeah, it's that sensationalistic thing.
Yeah.
When I was doing Paranormal Survivor, there was a story of this woman who was driving along the road, and there were two dolls that were basically sitting by the garbage.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
Yeah, and
Go ahead. Yeah.
she thought they were cute, and she collected them and she fixed them up and all of that. So she brought them home. And then, of course, strange things started to happen. And ultimately, she brought them back to where they were originally in the garbage and talked to the people who lived in the home. And I remember reading about this case and thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I would ever do that. I don't know what I would do if I grabbed a couple of dolls from the garbage. I wouldn't necessarily bring it back to the same people's house and leave it by their garbage. But certainly, I mean, people bring things home all the time from estate sales and garage
Yeah.
sales
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so many people are unsuspecting of what could be attached. But dolls in particular are very creepy to me because I always think, in order to choose a doll, that's got to be really, that spirit has to be lonely. That spirit has to be,
Calling to you in some
yeah,
form,
like, yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
maybe not, calling, your name or whatever, but it's definitely sending some sort of vibration out there
yeah,
in order for you to pick it up and bring it home, right?
yeah,
So
exactly. So
that's
freaky, so freaky. But Annabelle's no different. I mean, they were very unsuspecting, with Annabelle, and then boom, all of these things started happening. Very scary. I don't know. I don't know.
exactly,
I don't know. It
exactly.
makes you wonder sometimes because as a kid, I don't know, did you ever have experiences as a kid with a doll? Because I certainly did. I had a
Yeah.
doll that I called Baby Boo. And Baby Boo took on almost like a human, well, I don't know. She did. She had human characteristics to me. And when I was a kid,
Did she look like that? Like, was that her exterior look? Like, did she look, how some dolls have a very realistic,
yes, yes, she was very real. She had those eyes that would open and close. So
oh
when you
yeah.
put her down to sleep, her eyes would close. And when I picked her up, her eyes would open. And I could swear sometimes that she would be lying down next to me with open eyes. And that scared me a couple of times. But
Yeah.
when I would get changed, or, if she came with me into the bathroom as a small child, I would turn her away. I didn't want her to watch me. I really believed that she was real. And I
Right.
think that's the thing with haunted dolls. Most people believe that they're real.
There is a no, I don't remember her name, unfortunately. You might have to, check her out or whatever. I'm sure if people just type in haunted dolls on TikTok, they would
Yeah.
find it. But I'm sure they'll find lots of stuff. But there is a lady on TikTok who's got, it looks like hundreds of haunted dolls. And she actually records them quite frequently moving and doing their thing, and she sews them up, and she dresses them, or she'll find them somewhere, so people give them to her, and they're usually in like not great shape, so she'll fix them up and whatever. She has to um place the dolls sometimes away from each other because they might not get along, or that spirit doesn't get along with this other spirit.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, bless her heart, right? But I mean, for me personally, I mean, I've got other things to do than that. But you know what I mean? Like, bless your heart if you've got time to, rearrange dolls
Do it.
according to their, if they're liked or not liked. But you know, it is what it is,
It is
right?
what it is.
It is what it is. There's another one here too, Robert. So Robert is quite a famous, well-known doll as well. I'm just going to pull up a picture of him. What do you know about Robert?
Well, I know that he resides in Key West now, and
Mhm.
all those letters and things along the wall there are from people who have disrespected Robert.
Oh,
Um, yes, and who have written in to say, I'm so very sorry that I disrespected you, because the
wow.
legend is that Robert, who actually was given as a gift to someone way back when,
Yeah. Yeah.
and when kids play with imaginary friends and all of that, he was playing with Robert, and Robert really became a living doll to the person who received the
His name
gift.
was Robert Eugene Otto, and apparently they actually named the doll for him.
Yes,
So the dog, took on his name. But he did go by the name of Gene.
he did. Yes, that's right. And actually, not long ago, there was a special on TV. I can't remember which channel, about Robert the Doll. It was kind of a
Oh,
reenactment of the actual story of Robert the Doll, and interspersed with that were the actual people interviews with people who had disrespected Robert.
oh wow.
Yeah, and who literally had to go back with a letter and retract what they said. And some people really are disrespectful. I mean, he is in a museum, he's in a
Yeah.
case, and people walk by all the time. But some people do not believe in Robert the Doll. So all those are letters from all of those people.
It's
Crazy.
interesting, here's the thing is even if you don't believe, that's perfectly fine, right? But is the mocking necessary?
Exactly.
Right? Because usually, people that mock, they're just trying to, appear bigger
Yes.
than
Yes.
than they are, right?
Yes.
And so, it's sort of it's a very telling, behavior when you're sitting there mocking that,
Yes.
especially an inanimate object, right? So or what is appearing to be an inanimate object at that point. I was looking online. I was trying to find some videos of Robert actually moving. I couldn't really find any that were not sensationalized. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing, is if here's the thing. I mean, I fully believe that, I'm sure he moves or does his thing and all of that, whatever. But the sensationalizing of it isn't necessary because if the doll is moving, we don't need all of the extra flashes and
No.
you know,
Exactly.
or these cut scenes and this and it's
No.
like you just need just show us. Like put the camera there, let us see it. We're good to go. Like we're okay with that. But when they add these sensationalized stuff, for me it was just very created. And so I was like, I don't think we're not gonna put our time into you know, putting a video up because I was hoping I could find a video of him moving to
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
and I could not find one that seemed legit. There was another one that seemed to it was kind of funny. It seemed to, be like, okay, we got him moving. And then they show something, and then they go back and they show it again, except closer up, and then again closer up, and again.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay, but I don't see anything happening. Like, what the
no.
hell are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
it's just nonsense, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
just showing me nonsense. And
Yeah.
so, why am I going to put this up? I'm not going to do that.
No.
So, but I do. I wish that we had seen it, and it's interesting. Um, Oh, Trish is saying here, there used to be a doll museum in Aurora. My dad took us there when we were kids, and it was kind of creepy. I wonder, Trish, do you happen to remember which doll that was?
It was a
Do
museum.
you remember the name of the doll? It'd be interesting if it
I,
popped.
you know what? I have never been to a doll museum, but when I
Mhm.
was a kid, growing up in Montreal, we had relatives in New England, and my parents had a really good friend in Vermont. So we used to go to Vermont a lot, and there was a doll. Well, it wasn't a museum. It was like a doll store, but it was an old Victorian house where they had multiple levels of all kinds of dolls, and they looked so real that I can still remember going into that place and being absolutely terrified, because my mom actually loves dolls and collects
Right.
old dolls, but she wanted to go into this place. And honestly, I swear I thought they were real. Even the
Yeah.
eyes, the glass eyes,
Yeah.
they looked like real eyes. I was so creeped out, I wanted to leave. Oh, look, there she says, hundreds of dolls. The house is on the corner of Yonge and St. John's Side Road. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah. I want that's not the same one that you went to though, is it?
No, mine was in Vermont, but that's really cool, Trish. That would freak me out. I don't know. There's just something about dolls. I mean, ever since I watched this show when I was a kid with Karen Black, and I can't even remember what it was called. Somebody out there might even know what it was called. But she had this little doll that actually came alive. It was like a statue, and that freaked me out so much. And of course, with my baby Boo experience as a child, looking at her eyes, and I swear they would be open when I least expected them to be. I really do believe that, yes, that spirits can inhabit dolls. And I think, who wouldn't want to be, if I were a spirit who wanted to stay, who wouldn't want to have love and, right? All of
Yeah,
that.
if you needed a material body
Yeah.
or a physical form, then I
Right.
suppose you know, that would probably be one of the better things to inhabit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was this too, and you had sent this to me earlier, and I remember watching a documentary on it, and I found it really interesting. And I know that there's been a few paranormal teams that have gone over there, and I think even who was it, Josh from
Oh my God, Josh Gates.
yeah, yeah.
Love
He did
him.
an episode on that too, and I thought it was
He's
brilliant.
good.
But the Island of the Dolls,
Yes.
Island of the Dolls, like that is creepier than hell.
I know, right?
But
Mexico.
they did catch. I do remember watching that episode, and they did. Trish is just saying. She says it was torn down about
Oh
45 years
wow.
ago, and she's laughing because she's aging herself. No, we get it. We totally get it. But yeah, but I watched that episode and I thought it was brilliant the way Josh did it. I really did. I thought it was a really good episode. It's one of those because he does leave the interpretation open. It's not saying this is absolute or this isn't, or whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
more like, look at here's the evidence, you decide, you choose for yourself. And I really enjoyed that. I used to love watching their shows. But
Me too.
yeah. But I thought it was such a brilliant episode.
Oh, he did a great job with that episode, and I've seen that episode a couple of times,
Mhm.
and I love it because I don't know if you remember, there was one scene where they're standing there in the dark and they're right next to this doll, and the doll's eyes are closed, and he says to
Yes.
the camera, "Okay, if this doll opens her eyes, I will myself, right?" And
Yeah.
then on cue, the doll opens one eye. Do
But
you
I
remember that? Oh my God. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. I thought that was funny. But Josh
yeah.
Gates always had such a great sense of humor. I mean, he really does have a great sense of humor.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
has such a great sense of adventure that I totally love. But it's his sense of humor that kills me. But
Yeah.
Island of the
It's a
Dolls,
really definitely a good episode. If people can find it, I highly recommend taking a look at it. It
yeah.
was a really, really well, most of their episodes I think were fantastic
But
anyway.
Ghost Adventures, actually, they went there as well. And I do
Right.
remember watching some scenes from that. And there are all kinds of dolls that people leave there. And one of them had I don't even think it had batteries in it, but it started to sing or cry like a baby. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, even if it's rigged, that's creepy.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
really creepy. I don't know. I wouldn't
It
want to
is.
be there. No.
It's like that, the most horrific voice you could probably hear is like that, "Mama,
Right?
mama," right in the dark,
Yes.
last thing you need, and it is, when we're talking about, like, even haunted objects, I think that some people, they just don't understand where, when we're everything is energy, and I try to project this when I'm doing readings for people. It's like, this is the energy that's coming in. This is the energy that's coming in. Sometimes I have to say that word 800 million times, like while I'm doing a reading, because I'm trying to get across that, this is the energy that the person is projecting, or this is the energy that is coming in, or this is what I'm feeling. It's an energy. And everything is an energy. Everything we touch, everything we do, everything we're emitting, we're vibrating at an energetic field. Like,
Yes.
we're giving this off all the time. And so when somebody says that a doll is haunted,
Hmm.
you have to take that responsibility of bringing it home, as we just talked about. But it's also, too, is that, if you were to go to a garage sale and somebody says, well, here's this object, or I'm going to take home this object that, the entire family, it was destroyed in a fire, this happened, or the whole family was murdered and this was an auction, or I'm not going near that object.
No.
Sorry to say, but that is not something I'm bringing to my home.
No. It's true. I
Because
totally
it
agree.
does contain, and especially wood. Wood is very porous, obviously, as we know. So is ceramic. Ceramic is extremely porous. Glass can be extremely, this is why we have all these legends about mirrors,
Yes. Oh
because,
boy.
they carry particular uh, energy, right? Where they have the ability to contain energy or take that energy within them. And a lot of people just do not understand. It doesn't mean that don't go to a garage sale and buy something. Nobody's saying that. But just to be aware of what it is that you're purchasing, or what it is that you're taking a look at, or, maybe ask questions, right?
Yes.
Or, be prepared to maybe do a cleansing on it. And a cleansing for these objects is very simple, usually, for the most part, depending on, okay, let's go back to, whole family slaughtered, like Amityville or something like that. But, let's just probably put that into a fire somewhere itself and let it be. Maybe don't bring that object home.
No, no, not a good idea. No, not a good idea.
Most of these objects can be, unless they're like a haunted doll or something like this. But, again, it's about taking that responsibility for what it is that you're doing. And unfortunately, as we seem to have discovered, or it's being shown to us more and more, is that responsibility for our own actions is sort of like a fairy tale. Apparently, like, it's easy to blame everybody else, and to do this and do that, but you've got to take the responsibility for yourself on the fact that it was a cool thing. I had to bring it home.
Well, one of my most memorable cases was a woman who bought a dresser with the original mirror as a vanity. She wanted to turn it into the vanity in her bathroom. And she brought it into the house and stored it in the basement. Didn't really ask what the history was of it. Where did it come from? And let's face it, a lot of people, unless they're us, they're not going to sit with an object or touch an object and kind of commune with it before they bring it home.
Yeah.
Most people are
Yeah.
going to say, that's the thing I want, and it's going to look great in my bathroom. Therefore, I'm buying it. That's
Yeah.
really it. I mean, they're going to make
Yeah.
an arbitrary decision, not based on how they really feel about it. They're not going to touch it. They're not going to try and kind of figure
Mhm.
things out, right? Any more than a surface feeling. And they're going to bring it home, which is what she did. She stored it in the basement, and her son started to have horrible things happen to him, feeling like something was grabbing him into the couch. And it started to follow him throughout the house. So doorknobs started rattling, felt like he was being watched. All kinds of things were happening. So when I had gone into the house and she was talking about it, and I asked her, well, have you had any renovations or anything that might
Yeah.
precipitate stuff? She said, oh, yeah, we're redoing our bathroom. And I said, okay, what have you brought any objects in? And she said, yes, an old dresser. And that's when I saw the dresser in the bathroom and I saw the mirror. And I said, oh, that looks like it's an original mirror. And she said, yes, it is. And I felt weird stuff from that mirror. And I actually saw something in the mirror. I saw a woman in the mirror brushing her hair. You know, with those paddle brushes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brushing her hair. And there looked like a man behind her. And that's when I knew, okay, there was something that was brought into the house
Yeah.
through the mirror. But
Yeah.
so many people don't know. They're not really aware that they could bring something home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's especially, as this is a generation where we are having a lot more elderly,
Yeah.
like, we had COVID, we had, different things, that have been, and so there's been an awful lot of estate sales. There's been a lot of, whatever it is. And yeah, it's been pretty evident that there's been a lot of objects floating around, that probably don't always need a home.
No, but some people don't know why an object can be haunted. And that's, I think, a big thing.
And the thing is that it's interesting because I think like sometimes with, just objects themselves, I guess I think the hard part would be you going, well, I can't imagine that there's a hairbrush in that, or there's a hairbrush, there's a person in that dresser, or a person in the hairbrush, or a person, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like a spirit of time. But I feel like with some of these objects, it's more of an energy. It's more of an energy of what they've absorbed during the life of the person who previously owned it, and maybe the person before that, and the person before that. And so it's like I said, if you're taking an object home, let's say it was from Amityville, okay, and I'm going to take this from the house. You might not want to do that because there's a lot of energy within that home where the family was slaughtered, right? Maybe even if you don't believe in the paranormal, that's perfectly fine. But you're always going to, the thing is too, you're always going to have that notion in your head that this came from a house where an entire I'm only using Amityville, guys, just because it's like a very, um well-known case, I guess,
Right.
right? And it's a
Right.
it's a human tragedy that actually did happen. Like the Amityville murders did happen. They were actually slaughtered, right? This entire
Yes.
family. So and that's the only reason why I'm using that example. But you bring that object home, you're always every time you look at that, you're going to be thinking about this tragedy. It's
Yes.
going to be always on your mind about this
Yes.
tragedy. You're always going to be, thinking about it, whatever it is. And so what does that do? That creates an energy. People don't quite understand. It creates an energy that we're not maybe completely aware that we're creating. But every time you look at it, you're not going to look at whatever it is and go, oh, I feel so happy and giddy. You're not gonna do well, maybe unless you're psychotic or something, but
Well,
you know, but for the most part,
yes.
you're not gonna do that. You're gonna look at it and you're gonna have that remembrance of whatever it was, that tragedy that happened, right?
Yeah.
And so what does that do? It's gonna continue and it's gonna develop and it's going to expand and it's going to create some sort of energy. And and this is where we get a lot of not intelligent hauntings, but um can Can you?
Residuals?
Thank you. My having
I
tongue
get
out
it. I do.
today. It's not working.
I do.
But where we get the residual hauntings, right? Because it's a repeated, something, not saying that the dresser is going to come alive and slaughter a family, but you're going to have the energy of
Mhm.
not feeling maybe all of that great because of the fact that you have this object. It's always going to bring up some sort of negativity in a way. And then anybody that comes in, oh, hey, where did this come from? Oh, well, da 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 da. Now you've passed it along. And I mean, this is how things spread, right? Whether it's energy or whatever. So, and a
Yes.
lot of people just don't realize it. And again, it's, did you need that object? Why did you bring that object? And I think that that's where that responsibility comes in, because did you really need that object?
Yes, that's really true. I mean, okay, so here's a case in point. Um, when things happen, when there's a lot of emotion attached to an event, it does leave an energetic imprint. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand, which is why I think there was a couple of years ago, well, more than a couple of years ago now, there was a story that I did read from the Titanic Museum, and they were selling artifacts from the Titanic site in little bags, and people were buying them from the gift shop and returning them because they had such awful dreams and they had such terrible residual feelings,
Yeah.
that they just said, no, it comes from that. They wanted them so badly because it was the thing to have, right? To have
Right, right. It's the
a
cool thing to
memorabilia.
have.
Yes. But because of the energetic imprints that were on these particular objects, because of where they were found, um, yeah, I mean, they just couldn't handle the energy. And that must, I mean, sure, that's got to be horrible. So, yeah, you can certainly bring energy home with you.
Mhm.
And so many people, they don't get it until you start asking them questions, right? Did you get anything at a yard sale, or did you bring
Yeah.
anything home?
Yeah.
Did you get a gift from someone? Maybe was it attached to an event like a murder or
Yeah. Like,
no,
what's the history?
exactly. What's the history behind that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is Cinder actually just reminded me of this house. So Cinder and I grew up together,
Okay.
and our parents were best friends, or like really, really close. And she says in Bellwood, it was an area that we lived in. There was an old pre-subdivision home with old dolls in the windows. It looked so haunted. It was a big dare to go up to the window and look into the doll's eyes. So I don't know, maybe this isn't the same house, but I remember right around the corner from my parents' house, it was up like around the corner and up like two or three houses. There was this old broken down like house. Like, this thing was like definitely condemned.
Oh God.
and and it was like, even the wood was gray. You know what I mean? It was so old that the wood was like gray. I remember this so clearly. And it had all these creepy dolls and things and all of that. And I remember we had to sneak up and try and look in the window, and obviously nobody lived there, but it was like, it was one of those
Creepy.
fun things to do. And they eventually did tear it down. I remember taking my daughter's Halloweening back in the day, because we used to live on that street. We actually moved in on that same street.
Oh wow.
But yeah, and I took my daughter's Halloweening one year, and they had totally, obviously, torn down the whole house, but they renovated it, and it was absolutely beautiful. At the time, I never even thought about asking, well, how's the rest of the house? Like, do you have any creepy stuff going on? I guess I could have. I probably would do that now, but back then I never even thought about it. But
No,
yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm glad she brought up that memory.
that's freaky.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
freaky. Well,
yeah.
do you know, when I was younger, and kind of new to all of this paranormal investigation stuff, there was a house that was in Montreal. It eventually was slated for demolition. And I had gone with a couple of people from college that I was friends with. They were interested in haunting
Yeah.
objects and haunted locations. Anyway, we had gone into this house, and of course, there was a no trespassing, but we had actually gotten permission from the construction company that was taking it down because, we were kind of, well, I was new to the field. They had never done this before. And I thought it might be a good idea just to walk around, get the feeling. There was a
Right.
family who had lived there, but of course, there were derelicts who kind of went in there and yeah, that mattresses on the floor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was really creepy because they warned us not to go upstairs because the stairs were not, they weren't steady, they were not safe. So we were on the main level, and it was during the day, which makes this even more creepy. So it was during the day, and this house had, the entranceway, your typical kind of Victorian type house. So it had an entranceway and it had a parlor, and they had turned the other area into this big living space. They tore down some walls, and anyway, but there was a bedroom on the main floor. And when we went into the bedroom, there was this old dresser, and on the dresser was a doll,
Yeah.
and there was a note.
You gotta wonder why somebody's leaving it.
Well, there was a note on the doll that
Oh, okay.
that said in French, I'm like a poupée hantée, so I'm a haunted doll, and I bought this, and I'm a haunted doll, and I'm leaving you here because I don't know what to do with you. So ostensibly, when they tore down the house, they tore down the doll with the house. And that
Right.
creeped us out. We were so creeped out by that. It was the most crazy thing. I think we all ran out when we saw that doll because it was creepy. Ugh, imagine that. But I mean, that's one way, I guess, to get
Yeah.
rid of a haunted doll. Leave it in a haunted location that's going to be
Yeah.
demolished. But that was a
Right.
creepy thing. I'll never forget that. That has stayed with me forever.
We had a hospital here. Now it's been torn down, and they're actually building condos. Whatever. Not
Yes.
a
Well,
place I'm gonna personally live, but it
no.
is what it is. But we had a hospital here, and actually it was funny because my daughter was one of, like, she was actually born there. And my oldest one, and then they actually had condemned it a few years later. Like, it was only a couple of years later that they condemned it, and now it did remain standing for the longest period of time, right? But there was a lot of asbestos, and it was very derelict, but people at first would sneak in and try to steal a lot of the objects that were in there because it was well known to be haunted. And then whoever owned the property actually got smart after a while. And it was funny because they were like, if you want to sneak in, go right ahead. We used to get a lot of people, on our Facebook page that would say, oh, we went and checked out the Charles Council and we did this and we did that. And it's like, no, you didn't. But that's okay. You know what? You maintain your story. That's we're cool with it. But the thing is basically what they were doing is, if you want to go in, go in. But the minute that you walked out, you're arrested.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So
Very
if you
interesting.
walk in, I mean, if they could catch you, they would, you know what I mean? If they could make it, but they're not going in because there's asbestos and all that stuff. So if it's like you get to the entrance and you want to go screw around in there, go right ahead.
Yeah.
The security is outside, staying safe, having coffee. It is what it is. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But in the meantime, the cops are called and everything else, and you walk out of that building, boom, you're
That's amazing.
yeah. So, you get a lot of people that, oh yeah, we were just there like last night, and we did this, and and it was like, okay, well,
No, you didn't.
no, that's okay. You believe you, honey. You
That's right.
believe your story, or
That's
whatever. It is what it is. But there was a lot of people that did try to take objects from the hospital.
yeah.
Obviously, throughout the years, not something that I would personally be doing, but that's perfectly fine. But it's interesting. A lot of people tend to think that, I mean, it's one of those things. I have talked about my Barbie doll experience.
Oh
from
my
our
gosh, the Barbie dolls.
the
Oh
bar
man.
from my own haunted experience, my own haunted house. And it was interesting because it wasn't the actual dolls that were haunted. We do know that it was, the house that, or whatever was in that particular home, that was moving things around. And we would find, Barbie dolls all over the place. Like whether, I found them between the taps and the sink. I would find them, against the walls. You would walk in and you would have been out all day, with the kids. So nobody has access to the home. I mean, you know, and I even changed the locks, at points in time, just simply because of the fact that, you're like, okay, maybe, this is something I need to do, whatever, right? Because this keeps happening. But we would walk in, and I mean, there would be dolls in the front entrance as soon as you're walking in the,
Oh God.
I remember my girls were just like, we were all beside ourselves. Like it turned into one of those movies, like, or homes where, in the movies, everybody's sleeping in one bedroom. That was my house. That was my house. Nobody's going to the bathroom by themselves. Everybody, has a buddy, whatever it is, like, you know, but it was, consistent. And it was interesting because one of our pets there, now this is where, the idea of haunted dolls could, come into play, I guess, to some degrees. It was my daughter's birthday, and now we had this dog named Harley, and it was a beautiful Australian Shepherd. And we really, really liked him. And my daughter was like, this dog did everything with my daughter. Everything. This dog was like always at her heels. You know what I mean? They were best buddies. And we got him in to get neutered, and we had picked him up, like, I think it was the day before. And again, he was still fine. Everything was fine. But then her aunt came over to the house. My ex-husband's, sister came over to the house, and she brought with her a new Barbie doll. Now, of course, we've already had so many issues with Barbie dolls, but we were like, "Oh, great, okay," you know what I mean? And I mean, my daughter loved them, like, you know what I mean? This made her so happy, right? And so as she's standing there and she's holding this new doll, and the dog is beside her, you could literally see the dog change. It was the scariest thing. And he suddenly started growling, and he went, like, on like the back up, like the back end up, and started growling, teeth bared, and he just lost his shit. Like, I thought he was going to attack my daughter, and I was able to, I ended up, I put him outside at that moment, but we ended up having to chain him in the house because my daughter could not even walk around the house.
Wow.
And so we don't know what happened, but we ended up taking I ended up taking the dog to the Humane Society and said to them, look at, like, this is what happened. I phoned them and I had talked to them, and because we had got it from the Humane Society, right? And and so she wanted to see what the reaction was, just. And so they had my daughter, stand beside me, and of course the dog was chained up, and people were coming in, to the Humane Society. And then my daughter came in, and you could see it just like that, the dog. But the dog was associating the Barbie or whatever it was, like, with my daughter. It was the spookiest thing. And so anyhow, it was so bizarre how this all came together. My daughter was a little nervous, last week. She was like, she's got a new puppy. Well, not a new puppy, but she rescued a dog. And she's, this thing was just about dead. Hey, she
Oh,
found, yeah, it was so sad. And she took it home, and, she's taking it in to get spayed next week. And she's like, I'm a little nervous because of, what happened with, she still remembered that. And then she's like, I'm pretty sure it, I remember it had to do with the Barbie doll, but it's something that still lives in her mind, and it was such
that's
a scary experience and she was so sad because she truly, truly loved that dog. But
wow.
it was almost instantaneous. The minute she held that Barbie doll, you could see the change in this dog. It was like from, like, that.
Well, and pets, I mean, as we've always talked about,
Mhm.
pets know they have a sixth sense. They can
Well,
see things and hear things that we can't.
Absolutely. And the thing is that this dog was highly sensitive. Like very, and and with all the things that we had going on, we would come home and we would find the dog like, barking at the Barbie dolls. And
Oh my God.
it would be barking, it would stand in front of one of the doorways in the hallway, like the bedroom, the one of the bedroom, and just like lose its shit, on
Wow.
what appears to us like an empty bedroom,
Thing.
but with us, like as people, it was amazing. It was such a beautifully friendly dog. Like I said, it's my daughter and him were like best friends, you
Wow.
know. And then boom, it was just so instantaneous. So yeah, it was. And but he was fine with us. He was fine, he was fine with me, my other daughter. But it was almost as though he associated this Barbie
Yeah.
with my daughter, and
Yeah.
almost got it kind of, and it was really scary. And so, we like people, we have to be careful about what it is that we do. And we have to take responsibility for our behavior and our actions. And a lot of people, it's so cool to have that 5 minutes of fame, that I think that a lot of people neglect to realize, that the possible danger, or even if it's not on a physical level, it can be on a mental level.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, you see all of those people that have YouTube channels and they buy these, what are they called? Those Dybbuk boxes, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Gee.
And they open them up and all kinds of strange things happen. But it's people that really want to sensationalize things. They want to experience things. These are the same people that say, well, yeah, I want to see a ghost. Whatever. I mean, right? I want to see a ghost. I want to experience these sensationalistic things because I've seen them on TV, or yeah, or I've
Mhm,
watched them on movies and I
mhm.
want the same experience. And I mean, you got to be careful because what do they
Yeah.
say? Sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for.
Well, I get a lot of that in my profession, right? You get a lot of people that say, "Oh, I want to be a psychic. I want to be a medium. I want to see dead people. I want to know what other people." And you're just like, "Are you sure you do?"
Right.
Because once you open the door,
Yeah.
you're opening a door. And it's a learning process, right? Like even if you're like, you know, um I was naturally born with gifts, which helped. But we all have these gifts. We're all born with these gifts. It's just how far we develop them is
Right.
is a different matter. But a lot of people want to go from 0 to 100.
All the
And
time.
they're not willing to do the steps. And there's a lot of steps in order to, have responsibility as a psychic or as a medium or as an intuitive or as an empath that is giving help to others. You have to take the responsibility behind doing it.
Exactly.
Well, first and foremost, there's, and there's a process, and you have to, all of this stuff. And it's funny because you'll have these people that claim they're empathic and they'll be like, but I can't go into the mall. I'm so scared of all the people in the mall and all the energies get to me and blah, 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 blah. Whatever bullshit, is coming out of their mouth. Like, I can't go into a shopping mall because there's too many energies. Well, then you're obviously not somebody who's well trained.
Right.
And you're obviously not somebody who trusts their own intuition. And
Right.
but then at the same time, they'll say, well, I want to give readings. Why would anybody want to go to you if you can't manage this skill on yourself?
Right.
Then why in the hell are you offering it to other people? That's complete bullshit. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh man.
this is trusting yourself. And again, it's about trusting ourselves and listening to our intuition when we bring things home with us too.
Yes, absolutely. People need to listen to their gut a lot more than they do. And, hopefully it's shows like this and conversations like this that will help these people to understand these things a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we're going to be talking about this next week also. So, unfortunately, you're not going to be with us. You're going to
No,
be on an investigation, and we wish you well.
right.
And I'm looking forward to hearing everything. But we're looking forward to seeing you again. So,
Yes, me too. Me too. But
yeah,
you're going to have fun with Trevor. I'm
yeah,
sure he's going to be all over this. It's a great.
Oh, I know. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We truly appreciate it. And we wish you an absolutely amazing week.
Yes.
And take care, everyone. Bye. We will see you soon.
Yes.
Bye.